Yo, what's good? Welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report, and we are live on this Friday, August 30th. I'm Chase Sr., and no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, I appreciate all of you for making today's 49ers Report a part of your day. We're going to talk about the latest happenings around this football team following the Brandon Aiyuk contract extension yesterday. And in case you missed it, a huge bag for the 2023 second-team All-Pro, 4-year, $120 million contract, $76 million in guaranteed money, and an interesting note here from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. Aiyuk is going to get paid $47 million by April 1st of next year. So those are the implications of this Brandon Aiyuk contract extension. Here's everything that's coming up here on the show. Going to give you the latest on Trent Williams, a Niners roster breakdown, a 49ers record prediction for the final time before the beginning of the 2024 campaign, and then we'll round out with the mailbag. Use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat so that you could be a part of the show. Chase Sr., producer Coop here with you, and let's hear from the faithful. I want to know where you're watching from. Let us know down in the chat, and we'll start to give you some shout-outs here. Julie DiCiano, hopefully I pronounced that right. Big Rob, Anthony Stewart. I see Julie once again, Richard Deere, Gump Wolf, Brandy, Tom, all in the building right now. Tom letting us know that he's rocking with us from Morgan Hill. Tacoma, Washington from Ken Dowsland. Raymundo is in Mexico. SoCal, LA from Francisco. Caden, Salt Lake City. Russell Hill, West Virginia. Allen, California. Tom said home of Debo, baby. That's very cool.
What's the home of Debo?
Jesse, that's South Carolina.
Oh.
He went to South Carolina.
He did?
He was a Gamecock. Jose Ramos saying Laredo, Texas. Memphis, Tennessee. John Aiello, Jessup, PA, one of our Super Chat legends. That is John Aiello. And speaking of Super Chat legends, I am going to Las Vegas tonight. In addition to me going to Las Vegas, producer Coop,
let's go,
going to Las Vegas. A couple of homies from the Chat Sports Studios, and we are going to watch USC LSU on Sunday at Allegiant Stadium. Unfortunately, the site of Super Bowl 58, where the Niners lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. But tomorrow, I know that college football got underway last week. Georgia Tech and Florida State from Ireland. Tomorrow, a full slate of college football. So we have a table at a casino. Which one is it again?
Westgate.
Westgate. And we're going to watch college football literally all day. So any super chats that come in during today's show, that goes toward the Vegas fund. We will be landing 8:30, 9 p.m. tonight. We're going to get after it. Tomorrow, we're going to have a lot of fun, and all of your super chats go toward our Vegas fund. If you want to be a part of the mailbag, use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat so that you can get your questions featured here on the show. Now, a lot of people are coming here wondering about Trent Williams, and we can talk about Trent Williams here for a few moments before we get started with our 3 segments. So, Coop, you can come to me full screen here. A lot of people are wondering, what is the latest on Trent Williams after Brandon Aiyuk signed that 4-year, $120 million contract extension and got $76 million in guaranteed money? An interesting note from ESPN's Jeremy Fowler on the Aiyuk deal. He gets paid $47 million by April 1st. So that contract is front-loaded, and Aiyuk gets a lot of immediate financial security. And I know that Aiyuk obviously has that deal done, but Trent Williams is a more important piece to the San Francisco offense as compared to a wide receiver. I think when you're building up a football team, you have to find your quarterback, you have to protect your quarterback, and in this instance, with the right-handed thrower, protect his blind side at left tackle with a player like Trent Williams, and you want to be able to find edge rushers who can get after the opposing quarterback. And whereas things have been so loud on the Aiyuk front with so much drama, twists and turns, so many updates, we really haven't heard much on the Trent Williams front. I'll tell you this, San Francisco has to get this deal done. He's truly one of one. Even at 36 years old, he's a completely dominant force in the run and pass game, and I just don't see how San Francisco are Super Bowl contenders without the services of Trent Williams. And I know some people are saying Chase, he's a declining asset. He's 36 years old. He's not the same player that he once was. Trent Williams has given up 1 sack in his last 983 pass blocking snaps. And his Pro Football Focus numbers every year that he's been with the 49ers have been truly special, truly elite. 91.9, 97.8, 93 flat. And last year, he was at 89.9. So this is a player who's been consistently dominant, holding it down at left tackle, and is just such a unique player with the athleticism that he possesses at 6'5", 320, 330 pounds. He's a 3-time first-team All-Pro, 2021 through 2023. So last year, still an All-Pro in the National Football League, a second-team All-Pro in 2015. And we're talking about a player here in Trent Williams who is an 11-time Pro Bowler, 2012 to 2018 consecutively, and then 2020 through 2023. That little gap there, he was dealing with some really scary medical issues. So San Francisco, I think it's only a matter of time before they get this deal done with Trent Williams. You just can't expect to embark on a Super Bowl run without the best left tackle in the game. And we'll talk about this Niners offensive line coming up here in a moment. I also think it's crazy how Williams directly impacts how Brock Purdy plays and how this offense goes. Purdy last year on 89 dropbacks without Trent Williams, 44.9% pressure rate, 6.1% sack rate, 5.2% interception rate, and a 2.6 touchdown rate. Look at how drastic these numbers change with Trent Williams on the field for Brock Purdy. Pressure rate, 39.8%. Sack rate, 5.4%. Interception rate, all the way down to 1.7%, and his touchdown rate goes up to 6.7%. It's almost as if when Brock Purdy drops back and he knows that 71 is holding it down at left tackle, the game slows down, he's able to process and take his time, and he doesn't have to panic. Unlike when Trent Williams is not on the field, there's not that same security for Brock Purdy because he knows there's a leaky valve at left tackle. And then the game starts to speed up a little bit, and Purdy starts to rush into decisions. He maybe takes off out of the pocket a little bit faster than he normally would. Or he gets a little bit gun-shy at moments. Or the interceptions go up because he gets pressured, the pocket folds, and he's making errant throws while getting hit. And I have to say this, during the preseason, week 2, week 3, I know that the Niners weren't playing at full strength in week 2, and then week 3 they had some of their skill position players back. The offensive line did not look good as far as run blocking and pass protecting. Brock Purdy was hit, pressured, and under siege a lot, especially on some of those play action plays, whether he rolled right, rolled left. There was always pressure from that Trent Williams side. And I want to pop up this photo here because without Trent Williams, this might be the best or the worst offensive line in the National Football League. Producer Coop was putting this show together and he said, I don't even know some of these cats. And I said, yeah, without Trent Williams, it is not a pretty picture. First of all, you have Aaron Banks as the center photo guy leading this offensive line unit. And this is the photo that the Niners tweeted out upon releasing their initial 53-man roster. Trent Williams is not on that because he's not on this roster. He's on the did not report list. So he shouldn't be occupying a roster spot, and he isn't. So you have Aaron Banks, John Feliciano, Nick Sickell, Jake Brendel, Colton McKivitz, Spencer Burford, Jalen Moore, and Dominick Puni. I think Dominick Puni's stock is up, and I think that he can be a really good player in this league. It looks as though he's a steal as a third-round pick out of Kansas. You see the athleticism from when he played tackle last year at Kansas on that left side. You see a streak of nastiness and physicality. He's very agile. He understands the system. He has great technique. That's awesome. And he's going to help out Colton McKivitz on that right side a little bit. But I think McKivitz is the worst starting right tackle in the NFL. I think that the Niners have an average center in Jake Brendel. There's a reason that he was a journeyman up until 2 years ago when Nick Sickell had to fill in for Aaron Banks. he was getting dump trucked by Brian Breesy, and then again against the Raiders, he was really struggling. So it's good that Aaron Banks is expected to come back to practice next week after he had to undergo surgery on that pinky. But if Trent Williams can't play against the Jets, and that's a really good Jets defense and a really good Jets front, it's going to be Jalen Moore over there. And Jalen Moore has been very spotty. I think he's a backup tackle in this league. Another question that some people have, Chase, Trent Williams has 3 more years left on his contract. Why is he asking for a new deal? Well, it's a very similar situation to what happened with Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey had a couple of years left on his deal, but he had no more guaranteed money on it. So the Niners gave him a contract extension, and they gave him some guaranteed money, and he went from not reporting to voluntary OTAs to reporting after he got that deal because he got higher average annual value, he got some guaranteed dough, and then he was given that contract extension, and he deserved it. He was the NFL Offensive Player of the Year, and top 5 in MVP voting, led the NFL in touches. There's a lot of wear and tear for a 28-year-old running back. And for Trent Williams, you talk about wear and tear. He's 36 years old. The offensive tackle market, like the wide receiver market, has reset. And in turn, we saw a lot of offensive tackles this offseason get paid, and now they're making more than Trent Williams, yet they're not the player that Trent Williams is. Tristan Wirfs, average annual value, making more than $28 million per year as a right tackle. Penei Sewell, right tackle, $28 million even. Christian Darrisaw, $26 million per year from the Minnesota Vikings. Laramie Tunsil, he signed that deal a couple of years ago, $25 million per year. Andrew Thomas, $23.5 million. And there you see Trent Williams as the 6th highest paid tackle in the National Football League. He has outplayed that contract for where the market is right now. Now, when you do look at his cap number and his base salary over the next few years, 2024, a little more than $20 million. 2025, $22.5 million. And then 2026, $32.2 million. Could this just be solved if the San Francisco 49ers guarantee him that money? Because I'm not sure what a contract extension would look like for a 36-year-old left tackle. So a lot of people have been asking, Chase, what's the deal with Trent Williams? That is the latest on Trent Williams. Not much chatter on that front, but I do expect the deal is going to get done soon because San Francisco is not a dumb organization. They understand they have to get this deal done in order to be true Super Bowl contenders this upcoming season. If you're ready to talk some more Niners, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. There is so much to get to here on the show, and we have a great show, in store for all of the faithful. I was checking my phone to see if we got some news on Trent Williams. Nothing there on that front, but we are going to get the show officially underway. 180 people watching live, 51 likes. I need everybody right now to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. I was live earlier on the Krug Show with Larry Krueger, talking some great Niner football. Now we're live on the 49ers Report. It's a Freaky Friday. All of your super chats go toward the Vegas Fund. For me, Coop, and some others, we're going to Vegas tonight. Ring in the opening weekend of college football. And with that, let's start the official show right now. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in. I appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day, and I hope all of the faithful is enjoying a fantastic weekend. Coming up, we're going to take a look at San Francisco's roster, player by player, heading into Week 1, and the Niners with some surprising developments on their depth chart here going into Week 1, Monday Night Football against the New York Jets. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the channel. My goal is to get the 49ers Report to 138,000 subscribers prior to our watch party against the Jets. We are 392 people away from that number. If you're looking for a Niners community that's unique here on YouTube, if you're looking for Niners content that is informative, insightful, entertaining, thought-provoking, that involves you because we love our audience interaction, hit that sub button right now. No surprises and no real developments in the quarterback room for San Francisco. Brock Purdy is QB1. The lone remaining question here for the Niners who is going to be his backup. Is it Josh Dobbs or is it Brandon Allen? I frankly think that Dobbs outplayed Allen slightly in the preseason. I also think with some of the questions along this Niners offensive line, Josh Dobbs has more athleticism, more running ability. He's simply the more dynamic athlete. He would be the better option to replace Brock Purdy if Purdy were to go down. But I have to be honest, I was pleasantly surprised with Brandon Allen throughout the preseason, threw the ball with a little bit more zip. And he's a quarterback who Kyle Shanahan really likes because he gets the ball out on time, accurately, and in rhythm, allowing for his weapons to pick up yards after the catch. Flip the page to the running back spot. Some changes here from the start of training camp and from the end of last year. What doesn't change is the fact that Christian McCaffrey is the best running back in the National Football League. 2,000 all-purpose yards last year, NFL Offensive Player of the Year, top 5 in MVP voting, and the Madden cover man. I think the Niners have to manage his workload a little bit better. Just because he led the NFL in touches last year, he's 28 years old. Niners signed him to a contract extension. You want to be able to preserve him. He's had a couple of calf injuries over the last couple of years, and you want to make sure that he's ready for playoff time. And the Niners have a great situation here because Jordan Mason is maybe the most improved player on the entire Niners roster from last year to this year. Runs with physicality, runs with precision, one-cut runner, which is perfect for Kyle Shanahan's outside zone scheme. I think he's due for a huge year if the 49ers give him some more carries. We'll see what happens with Isaac Guerendo. He tweaked his groin in practice this past Monday. Patrick Taylor surprisingly making the team, but he does have a lot of special teams value. Kyle Juszczyk, still the best fullback in the game. And in case you missed it, Elijah Mitchell out for the year because of a hamstring injury. He's going to have to get surgery on that hammy. Niners wide receiver room. Brandon Aiyuk was on the initial Niners 53-man roster, and now he's officially a part of this team for the foreseeable future after signing that 4-year, $120 million contract with $76 million in guaranteed dough. I think when you look at this receiver room here, San Francisco has the deepest receiver core in the National Football League. Brandon Aiyuk, Deebo Samuel, Jawan Jennings, Jacob Cowing, Ricky Pearsall, Chris Conley, and Ronnie Bell. You'd be hard-pressed to find another team that has this much depth, counting all of the quality wide receivers in a single receiver room among all 32 teams in the NFL. And I'm interested to see what type of impact Jawan Jennings can have with the larger role. Deebo Samuel had a terrific training camp. He's in much better shape. Aiyuk is now making $30 million per year. Do the Niners decide to throw it a little bit more? What can the impact be for Jacob Cowing and Ricky Pearsall, who I think are really the legitimate players? And Chris Conley had a great camp. He was awesome in the Super Bowl on that special teams unit. He's going to continue to be a special teams maven. Tight end. Maybe the biggest question mark on this offensive side of the football outside of offensive line. In fact, I think that is indeed true just because outside of George Kittle, who was the only tight end in the NFL last year to have more than 1,000 receiving yards, there are huge question marks here. Eric Saubert has never caught more than 15 passes in a season. Jake Tonches came out of nowhere to make the initial 53. That, another one of the summer surprises for the Niners. So if the Niners end up making a move here, whether it be soon, whether it be going into the NFL trade deadline, that would not surprise me. Hopefully George Kittle, the people's tight end, can continue to stay healthy. Let's go to the offensive line. Maybe the biggest surprise on this unit is no Trent Williams. And some people might be confused by that, but this is why. Trent Williams is a holdout. Trent Williams is not a part of the initial 53-man roster because he is on the did not report list. And because he's on the did not report list, he is not a member of this 53-man roster because it would be stupid for him to occupy a roster spot. If he can't play against the Jets, if a deal doesn't get done, he continues to hold out, or he signs too late, Jalen Moore will start at left tackle. Him protecting Brock Purdy's blind side against a very good Jets front, that scares me. Aaron Banks is expected to come back to practice next week, coming off pinky surgery. Niners going to go with Jake Brendel at center. They don't really have a better option. Dominick Puni, a stellar preseason and training camp. He earned the right guard role as a rookie. That's a positive development for this football organization. And I don't have to say much about Colton McKivitz. 47 pressures given up last year for San Francisco. If you are with me and you are worried about this Niners offensive line, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. I am very concerned about this unit because if Brock Purdy were to go down, if they can't give him protection and time to throw, if they can't run the football, it's going to be a concern. And we've seen this San Francisco offensive line struggle against good defensive lines across the league. San Francisco, are you with me? If you are, you can get one of your shirts right now. Chatsports.com/SF. These shirts available in red as well as black. That saying has become a part of the fabric of the 49ers Report, and you can rep the squad and rep the 49ers Report with these shirts right here. We'll put that link down below in the comment section and in the description of this video. Now we go to the defensive side of the football for the Niners. I really like the makeup of the front four. I think it's one of the best in the NFL. Nick Bosa, I think, is going to have a monster season after his sack numbers were down last year. Malik Collins has been more productive, more available, and I think is a better fit for this team as compared to Eric Armstead, plus he's cheaper. There was a clip from him in that Raiders preseason finale in which he took on two players from the Raiders, threw them both to the side, and was able to stuff the run. I know that he hasn't graded highly against the run, but I don't think the numbers tell the full story there. I'm really excited to see what his impact could be. He could be the X factor for this defense. Javon Hargrave can hopefully have a bounce-back year, and Leonard Floyd is the best edge rusher opposite of Nick Bosa, maybe in Nick Bosa's career. Certainly going back to 2019. When Bosa was a rookie. He has 4 straight years of 9+ sacks. He's played in 108 straight games. He plays the game the right way, always hustling, unlike Chase Young, and has this twitch, bend, speed element coming off that edge that I think is really going to help out Nick Bosa. Linebackers. Dre Greenlaw, going to miss most of this year, I would imagine, because he tore that Achilles back in the Super Bowl in February, and he's nowhere close to coming back. I think Devondre Campbell's going to be a pleasant surprise. His stock was down the last couple of years with the Green Bay Packers, but he was a first-team All-Pro back in 2021, and from what I saw in the preseason, he passed the eye test with flying colors. Fred Warner is still the best off-ball linebacker in the NFL, and what are the Niners going to do with that third linebacker? Will it be Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles, who was a part of that fumble forced against the Raiders alongside Jair Brown? He's a really good special teamer, but can he be an every down linebacker? Will it be D. Winters? Will it be Tatum Bethune? Curtis Robinson, another great training camp story. The Niners are deep at linebacker, but who's going to be that third guy without Dre Greenlaw? Cornerback, maybe the deepest cornerback room that the Niners have had during this current regime of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. Charvarius Ward and Isaac Yiadom project to be the starters on the outside. I'm okay with Diamador Lenore being slot nickel because he's one of the best in the NFL. On the inside, he's given up 4 touchdowns in coverage his first 3 years in the NFL, and he was one of the Niner MVPs throughout training camp, just played stellar ball, and I like the depth here. After not making the initial 53, Rock Ya-Sin is back on the active roster. Darrell Luter Jr. is a young, promising player, and then Renardo Green, I think, is going to mix in as a rookie second-round pick, both outside and inside. Safety depth chart. So Talanoa Hufanga, if he's able to come back for week 1, will be the starter. If not, it will be George Odom. And it'll be George Odom alongside Jair Brown. George Odom's one of the best special teams players in the NFL, and he certainly made strides as a coverage safety over the summer. So the safety outlook all depends and hinges on the health of Talanoa Hufanga, who did return to practice this week in a very limited fashion. Niners specialists. Jake Moody, the kicker. Mitch Wishnowsky, the punter. Tabor Pepper, the long snapper. I know that some people have cooled on Jake Moody. They hated that he was a third-round pick alongside Cam Latu, and I can see why. I would not draft a kicker in the 3rd round. And everybody tries to rip him apart for missing that PAT in the Super Bowl. Did you forget that he knocked through 250-plus yard field goals in that Super Bowl as well? I still think that he can be a good kicker in this league for a long time, has a big leg, has a knack for making clutch kicks. Mitch Wishnowsky coming off arthritis. He replaces Presley Harvin, who had a good preseason, and then Tabor Pepper, a very reliable long snapper. We'll see what happens as far as the return game for San Francisco. I think with what Jacob Cowing was able to show throughout the preseason, after missing a lot of time with the hamstring injury, he's dynamic, he's slippery, and I think that he's the best option to be this team's punt returner. Look out for Ricky Pearsall and Ronnie Bell to potentially get some opportunities there. And if Isaac Guerendo can stay healthy, he is this team's best option at kick returner. 6 foot, 220, 4.3, 40-yard dash speed, dealt with so many hamstring issues in college, hamstring issue on the first day of training camp, has a 93-yard kickoff return against the Raiders, looked good as a running back, both running it and catching out of the backfield, and then on Monday, he tweaked his groin. Hopefully, he's able to stay healthy, because if he can, he is a unique athlete. Grade this Niners roster, A, B, C, D, or F. One of the best in-depth looks you'll have right here on YouTube on this Niners team. We want to hear from the faithful as always, and as always, thank you so much for watching the show. All right. Segment number 1 down. 2 more segs to get to. Next up, Niners record prediction. Any super chats that come in today, it goes toward the Vegas fund.
We're excited and ready to go.
Let's go. Oh, I got signed out of Google.
Love that.
So let me just sign back in here so that I can actually join people in the chat.
Shout out to Xavier. Shout out Tom, Ernesto, Chizen, Joseph, Mr. Block Ice, Ian. Ian looks like he's trolling the chat a little bit.
What's Ian saying?
He's putting a bunch of emojis in the chat.
He's a Chiefs fan.
That sucks for him.
It's great for him. It's annoying for us. Tom Edsberg said, yeah, don't shout out Ian. Joseph Talmadge, what's up, Chase and gang? Yeah, so what's up is that in a few hours, me and a few of the Chat Sports homies are going to Las Vegas.
Yes, sir.
The point of the trip, opening full weekend of college football. We're going to watch college football games all day. The Sportsbook tomorrow. And then on Sunday, we're going to USC LSU, a top 25 matchup. So any super chats that come in during the live show today go toward the Vegas fund. So let's ride. All right, next up, final Niners record prediction. That's what we're getting to next. How many games do I have the Niners winning and losing this year? Let's dive into it live right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report as we roll on. Coming up on today's San Francisco 49ers Report, we're inching closer and closer to the Niners' Week 1 matchup against the New York Jets at Levi's Stadium on Monday Night Football. So it is time for my final Niners record prediction. We're going to go through this schedule, and I'm going to make my predictions as far as which games the Niners win, which games the Niners lose. So let's do it. But first, today's poll question. I want you to take a guess. I want you to predict it. How many games will the Niners win this upcoming season in 2024? Let me know down in the comment section right now. I think this is a good base layer to start with. Just some concerns that I have for San Francisco going into this year. Number 1, bad offensive line play. Number 2, Super Bowl hangover. Will the Niners be able to clear that mental hurdle in addition to the physical hurdle? This is a team that's played a lot of football, 4 NFC titles and 2 Super Bowl appearances in the last 5 years. It just causes for shorter off seasons and shorter recovery periods. Did the NFC counterparts catch up? The Detroit Lions have a really good team. Los Angeles Rams have a really good team. Philadelphia Eagles are loaded. Dallas Cowboys will still be competitive. The Green Bay Packers, I think, are really legit. So there are some really good teams in the NFC, and of course, you have to factor in some surprise teams, like the Atlanta Falcons with Kirk Cousins, like the Chicago Bears with Caleb Williams. There are always a handful of teams that go from worst to first, or who go from cellar dwellers to Cinderella teams and surprise a lot of people. Lastly, injuries. Under Kyle Shanahan, since he was hired in 2017 prior to last year, the Niners were top 10 in injury rate every year. Last year, they were actually the fourth healthiest team in the NFL. Can they have back-to-back seasons of health? If they can, no reason why San Francisco can't be in New Orleans next February. So let's take a look at this Niners schedule here. It gets underway week 1 against the New York Jets. I think San Francisco wins this game. There was an article out this past week talking about the dysfunction within the Jets facility because Aaron Rodgers is kind of out doing his own thing and isn't really leading the New York Jets in a way that the organization sees fit. I know I voiced my concerns about the Niners losing this game, but that was operating under the thought that Brandon Aiyuk and Trent Williams won't play. I think that Brandon Aiyuk is going to play. Will he be limited and on a limited snap count? Maybe, but he's still at least going to play. They need Trent Williams to be Super Bowl contenders. Can they get away with not having Trent Williams week 1 against the Jets? If he doesn't get that deal signed, I still think so. I think it's going to be a really good game because this Jets defense is physical. This Jets defense is fast. They are well coached, and they have a lot of talent at all 3 levels. But I do think the Niners win 24-21. Week 2, Niners hit the road to play the Minnesota Vikings. The Niners have not won in Minnesota since the early 1990s. I think that ends. This is a Vikings team that's kind of retooling, and San Francisco can't lose to Sam Darnold. Week 3, on the road against the Rams at SoFi Stadium, Inglewood, California, otherwise known as Levi Stadium South. I know that the Niners have dominated the Rams in the regular season over the last several years, and Kyle Shanahan has owned Sean McVay. At some point in a meaningful game, the Rams are going to beat the Niners because they're too well coached and they have too much talent not to. I think that happens in week 3 in a little bit of a stunner. Week 4, Niners play the New England Patriots at home. At this point, will we see Drake May? I think we will. I don't think the leash is long on Jacoby Brissett. Drake May really started to make some strides the last 2 weeks of the preseason. That's a horrible offense. San Francisco should win this game going away. Week 5, Niners host the Arizona Cardinals. Another NFC West tilt early in the year here. And I don't think that Arizona is ready to compete at the level of the Niners. I think we might find out that Kyler Murray isn't a franchise quarterback. I like how Jonathan Gannon had the Cardinals playing. They just don't have the talent to match up with San Francisco. Niners win this game as well. So in the first 5 games, first 5 weeks, San Francisco goes 4-1. That's a great start to the year. Week 6, on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. The Mike Macdonald era is underway. Something to remember and something to watch for. Mike Macdonald was the Ravens defensive coordinator. Last year, the Ravens had the best defense in the NFL. What happened on Christmas? Brock Purdy interception palooza, and that defense gave San Francisco a lot of trouble. The difference is Ravens defense, more loaded with high-end talent and depth as compared to Seattle, and the Seahawks still have Geno Smith. Niners win against the Seahawks on the road at Lumen Field in Seattle. Week 7, Super Bowl rematch against the Kansas City Chiefs. This iteration of the Niners under Kyle Shanahan, they have never beaten Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. It's just a bad matchup, and I don't think that losing streak ends. I think it continues. Niners lose against Kansas City in a close one, 31-27. Week 8, Dallas Cowboys. Just like the Chiefs own the Niners own the Cowboys. San Francisco at home dump trucks the Cowboys, and I think the Cowboys could be due for a disastrous year. Week 9 for the Niners comes at a perfect time, right about that midway point of the season. Bye week here, week 9. I kind of like where it's situated because if you have it too early, I don't think it helps you for 3/4 of the season. You have it too late, you might be too banged up. Smack dab in the middle, you get to separate the schedule a little bit. Week 10, Niners fly across the country to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's going to be hot. It's going to be humid at this point of the calendar year. Niners aren't too used to that, playing in Northern California. The time change and the travel and the mugginess, it's always difficult. So I think this game could be closer than what people anticipate, but the Niners have owned the Buccaneers in recent memory, and they continue to do that. They just handle business, and they get a victory. Record after 10 weeks and 9 games for San Francisco, 7-2. Good enough to be the number 1 seed in the NFC at this juncture and lead the NFC West. We'll finish out this schedule coming up here in just a moment. Why would we end the show right now? That would be stupid. You know what's not stupid? You getting a San Francisco shirt available in red and black. You can get yours today at chatsports.com/SF. I will attach that link, which is dangling under the pinned comment of today's show. It's also in the show notes of today's Niners Report. Let's go to Week 11 here. Niners sweep Seattle. They pick up a victory here. And then there's a little bit of a tough stretch here. Back-to-back roadies for San Francisco. And I imagine they're not going to come back to California. They play the Packers on the road, Lambeau Field, and they lose as the Packers exact revenge after choking that game away in the divisional round against San Francisco back in January. And I imagine because Wisconsin and Buffalo, New York are not far apart, that San Francisco's probably going to stay in that region, although it is cold that time of year. So maybe they don't, but the Niners have to go back on the road and play the Buffalo Bills. The weather in these 2 games could be a problem. We have seen that Brock Purdy struggles to grip the football and throw the football when it's wet or cold. Now, yes, he did play at Iowa State. A lot of cold games in that area of Iowa. No doubt about it. But it's a little bit different once you go up north to Green Bay, Wisconsin, and Buffalo. So I went back and forth with this, actually. First, I had the Niners losing against the Packers and the Bills. I actually think the Niners lose against the Packers, then they beat the Bills. And then San Francisco comes back home. They shake off the icicles. They warm up a little bit at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara. They play a Chicago Bears team that I think could win double-digit games this year. They led the preseason in point differential, I believe. Very impressive. They're like plus 68. And I think that Caleb Williams, the effect that he'll have, look, I get it. Painting his fingernails, crying in his mama's arms. It's a little bit weird, right? Him pouting on the sideline at USC. I get it. He's a very special player. He can do him. And when he does him on the football field, he's unique. And makes a lot of plays that remind me of Patrick Mahomes. They also have a lot of weapons on the offensive side of the football. DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift. We'll see what they have along the offensive line, that defense. They do have a defensive head coach. I think this game's going to be more difficult than what people anticipate, but San Francisco wins, and their record after 14 weeks is 10-3. Home stretch here. Week 15 against the Rams at home. The Niners get their revenge. This could be a game that helps San Francisco win the division. It's late in the year. They lose, according to me, the previous game against Los Angeles. They don't get swept by the Rams, though. Week 16, on the road against the Dolphins. Mike McDaniel just getting a contract extension on Friday morning, by the way. Another one of those cross-country trips. And just like Kansas City's offense and the speed of it can sometimes cause problems for the Niners, I think the Dolphins could cause some problems for the Niners as well. San Francisco loses this game. It's not a huge deal because it's not within the NFC. Week 17, NFC Championship game rematch. The Packers get revenge on the Niners, and the Lions get revenge on the Niners. This is an epic game that once again comes down to the wire. I think Detroit, San Francisco, Philadelphia. 3 teams going to be jockeying for home field advantage in the NFC. The Niners lose this game, but then they come back week 18. They go on the road against the Cardinals, and that's their get-right game. And look, when you've played in 4 NFC Championship games in 5 years, and you've been to 2 Super Bowls during that stretch, to be a sustainable winner in the NFL is really hard. To once again win 12 games is very difficult. The Niners last year had the number 1 seed with 12 wins. I have them repeating and going 12 wins again. My first prediction was 11 wins, so I increased it by 1. 12-5 is what I'm going with. How many games will the Niners win this year? Let me know down in the comment section. It was good for them to sign Aiyuk to that deal because it got rid of some of the weird vibes. Get the Trent Williams deal done next. Be sure to subscribe to us here on the Niners Report for shows coming your way every single day. Appreciate you for hanging out. the Nerd Nest, $10 super chat, and he is a first-time super chatter. Let's hope for the best this year. Just got to get to the playoffs and go from there. Exactly. The regular season win total isn't the end-all, be-all. You just want the Niners to be healthy at that juncture of the calendar year and that juncture of the season, because once you get into playoff time, San Francisco is battle-tested. That is our first super chat for the Vegas Fund.
Let's go.
And we only have one segment left if you want to be involved. That's a mailbag. Use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. Coop, how many questions do we have so far?
Let's see.
Do we need some more questions here?
We've got a good amount, but we could use some more.
All right, get those questions in. Hashtag 49ers. Send in a super chat. We have some new graphical changes. You like the motion and the smoke rising? No, that is not from a dispensary in Northern California. That's just a Chat Sports graphic. Or in Las Vegas where we're going. That is not a look at our hotel room. That is just a look at the Chat Sports graphic. Some cool motion effects. You just keep your eyes drawn to the screen. Do you like them? I love them.
Shout out, Tom. I appreciate you, my guy.
Cerebral Assassin. Another super chat for the Vegas Fund. That'll get me and Coop a couple of drinks.
Maybe half a drink in Vegas.
Cerebral. Here's another one, Chase. Not much, but thanks for the content.
Shout out, Cerebral.
Salute to you. I always love that profile picture as well.
That is tough.
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 It's a tough profile picture.
Still need a couple more questions, so use hashtag 49ers or super chat. And we'll be sure to get you on the show. Give it another minute or so. Anthony Stewart says, will SoFi become our stadium this year too? SoFi Stadium South, or Levi Stadium South.
Yes, sir. Get those questions in. Hashtag 49 or super chat.
We got some good ones coming in.
All right, awesome. Let's just move forward with it.
Let's do it.
We got a flight to catch. We got some drinks to take down. We've got some gummy bears to eat. Gummy bears.
Gummy bears.
Legal. All right, mailbag coming up. Let's go. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Really appreciate all of you for taking time out of your day to watch the program here. Coming up, we're going to take questions, comments, hot takes from our subscribers, our real ones, and people who watch the show. And speaking of that, if you want to join a community here on YouTube and you want to join the largest independently run Niners channel right here on the internet, subscribe to the 49ers Report for daily shows on San Francisco. We are approaching 138,000 subscribers, and with the regular season about to be here, our coverage is on fire right now. Be a part of the movement. The Nerd Nest with the $10 super chat. Let's hope for the best this year. Just got to get to the playoffs and then go from there. It's an interesting point that you make, right? Are the Niners going to go about this season a little bit differently, where they try to manage the health of their roster a little bit more? It's not the NBA in which teams operate in that manner, but you think about what San Francisco's done. 4 NFC titles over the last 5 years, 2 Super Bowls during that stretch as well. They've played a lot of football and a lot of games deep into the year, shorter off seasons, shorter rest periods, and they're a very physical football team. And we've seen so far throughout training camp that the Niners have been cautious with a lot of players who have suffered from injuries, and they've just suffered a lot of injuries. I mean, shoot, they had to cancel a joint practice against the Saints because a third of their 90-man roster wasn't able to practice the previous week. And the Niners do have a history of being hurt under head coach Kyle Shanahan. Prior to last year, they were top 10 in injury rate every year. Last year, they finally stayed healthy. What happened? They were the 4th healthiest team. They made it to the Super Bowl. So I think bad offensive line play and injuries and the mental hurdle of losing the Super Bowl in excruciating fashion and some of the weird vibes that we've seen All of those are things that I think could hold the Niners back. But look, the talent is there. They are very well coached. They have some legendary players on this team. They are fully capable of getting back to a Super Bowl. And once they get to the playoffs, this is a battle-tested squad with so much playoff experience and high-level postseason experience. Mr. Black Ice, I love Elijah Mitchell, but damn, he's getting hurt too much. Jordan Mason will play big, though. Thoughts on Matt Breida being let go? Should we bring him back if he's needed or available? So it's unfortunate what has happened to Elijah Mitchell. 6th-round pick and ends up being a really good player for this team. I've seen some people in the comment section calling him a bust. I don't think it's possible to be a bust as a 6th-round pick because the hit rate is so low that late in the draft, and he ended up having a really good year for the Niners. Whenever he's been on the field, he's been a highly productive player. One-cut runner, always picking up positive yards, especially during that rookie year. He was always falling forward, always in the green as far as its yards picked up on every single carry, but man, he has been snake bitten by the injury bug, has simply not been able to stay healthy. But even if Elijah Mitchell were healthy, I still think San Francisco upgrades at RB2. I've been a firm believer in Jordan Mason since I first saw him play in the preseason 2 years ago. He is that one-cut runner who's perfect for the system, runs with physicality, balance, power. How many times have we seen him with breakaway speed, but also carry the pile and keep the feet churning? And he's added a pass-catching arsenal to his game. I think that he would be a high-level running back for a lot of other teams across the NFL. He just happens to be behind the reigning Offensive Player of the Year. So I'm so excited for Jordan Mason. As for Matt Breida, he looked solid in the preseason. That game against Tennessee, he caught that wheel route. He looked good in the process. Or was that against New Orleans? Either way, he caught that wheel route and looked good. I thought it was pretty telling how the Niners actually brought back Keyshawn Vaughn to the practice squad instead of Matt Breida. But I think Matt Breida can still move. Stovey, 4x4ing. How did Kingston not make the roster over Ronnie Bell and other players? So this was roster mismanagement, in my opinion. The Niners knew that they were going to put John Feliciano and Ambry Thomas on IR. At least they could have done that. They did not put John Feliciano on IR, even though Kyle Shanahan said he's probably going to be out until the midway portion of the season. They did put Ambry Thomas on short-term IR. What I would have done, put those players on IR, find a way to create a roster spot, especially with Trent Williams not being on the initial 53, and have Jerrett Kingston as part of the team. Now, I know that Ronnie Bell had a couple of drops throughout the preseason. I think the Niners like him. He has some special teams ability. He's a willing blocker. Last year in the preseason, we saw him have some impressive performances, and he made some impressive plays after the catch in which he was able to break tackles and be a part of the Yak Bros. So I think that he can be a good player in this league, but what's the biggest weakness on this football team? And what has been the biggest weakness on this football team? It's the offensive line. And you can't find quality offensive linemen consistently. The Niners drafted Jerrett Kingston. He had a good preseason. He looked to be a promising player. I would not have let him go. I totally agree with you. I thought that was roster mismanagement. Now, I do want to tell you about today's sponsor, and that is Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. There's a great special in September. 1 Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. All he has to do is throw for 1+ yard. And you can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Now, I also cover the NBA here at Chat Sports, so let's go with some future basketball picks. Luka Doncic, more than 31.9 points per game on average. Steph Curry just signed that huge contract extension. What's crazy is that he's making more money than the entire Oakland A's. More than 27.5 points per game. And then Victor Wembanyama, more than 24 points per game going into his sophomore campaign. So Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code CLNS. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Ty Curious is next up. Speaking forward into the 2025 draft, do you think that we could perhaps trade Debo and other assets to jump into the top 10 to 15 to select Luther Burden or Travis Hunter? So I do think that with Brandon Aiyuk signing that contract extension and Debo Samuel not having any more guaranteed money left on his deal, that this could be the final year of Debo Samuel in a Niners uniform. Just because it's going to be hard to pay him, Aiyuk, Brock Purdy is due for a new contract. And what did the Niners do in the draft? They drafted Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing. Jacob Cowing looks to be very promising. We'll see what happens with Ricky Pearsall in that shoulder. If he hurts it again, might have to get another surgery. It could be a redshirt year, but they might rely on those second-year players to step in, fulfill those roles, with also Jawan Jennings under contract. So can you trade Debo? You might be able to a team that covets a one-of-one weapon, who's one of the more unique and dynamic playmakers that we've seen in this decade. How much does it get you? I'm not sure, because the team would have to inherit his contract. I'm not sure it gets you into the top 10, top 15 to draft the prospect. I'll say this about Travis Hunter. He played very well against North Dakota State. He was very impressive last year. Could he be the Shohei Ohtani of the NFL with all of the money that wide receivers make? Will he just play wide receiver? He's certainly dynamic, plays bigger than his size, has pull-away speed, is electric with the long ball, and if you get him the ball in space, he can cause some havoc. Can he play corner? You know, he's a little bit tiny. I do have some concerns there, but he certainly is dynamic. Some NFL players have said, no way he could play two ways. I'd like to see a team try to play him two ways. Look, we never saw a player like Shohei Ohtani before, except for Babe Ruth. We haven't seen a two-way player at the NFL level, so why not let Travis Hunter try it? Now, you had Charles Woodson, who at Michigan played both ways. You had Deion Sanders, who did that as well and played Major League Baseball at the same time as NFL football. That's just crazy. I believe that Travis Hunter is a unique player, and I'm interested to see how he performs this year. I think he's going to be in the Heisman race if Colorado can finish above 500, which I don't think they will, because that defense can't stop anybody in the Big 12, but I'm intrigued by the prospect for sure. Draco, what's good, my bro? If you had $1 million to bet, what rookie do you think will play this year and make the biggest impact? On the Niners, it's going to be Dominick Puni. I truly believe that Dominick Puni was a steal in the third round. The Niners got away with highway robbery, getting a special player at that juncture of the draft. Everything that I've seen from him has been so impressive. He's not overwhelmed, physically or mentally. He's comfortable on pull blocks. He's physical. He's nasty. He has finesse to his game where he can get out in space and is a very agile and quick mover. And really has understood the scheme very well. I also like the technique. He has this technique down where he is a very seasoned player. And I think a lot of that is due to the fact that he played a lot while in college, and the athleticism that he had to display at left tackle when he didn't give up a sack last year at Kansas has helped him on the interior. And what do the Niners need? A better offensive line, and I think he helps that offensive line out greatly, and I think he also helps out Colton McKivitz on that right side. It's kind of a best of both worlds type of deal. Jonathan Lamont Page. Who will our special team superstar be, Guerendo or Cowing? So I think that both are capable of being the starting returners. Guerendo, kick returner. Cowing, punt returner. I love the ability of both. I loved him in the pre-draft process. Guerendo just has injury issues. 2 seasons in which he missed time because of a hamstring in college, another because of a foot, day 1 of training camp, hamstring, Monday, groin. So that certainly worries me, and I'm talking 2 Mondays ago. This video is coming out on Monday. So if he could stay healthy, he can be dynamic. I mean, we saw it with the 93-yard return and Jacob Cowing. He could play inside. He can play outside as a receiver. I think he has some dynamic wiggle to his game, some good speed. He turned it up, showed out in the preseason. And I think that the Niners have a legitimate offensive weapon in him and Guerendo. Again, if Guerendo can stay healthy. 6', 220, who ran a 4.3 40-yard dash. Wow. Be sure to subscribe to us here on the Niners Report and hit that bell icon. Turn those notifications on. Therefore, anytime we go live, you will be notified and you can join our mailbags. Julie! A $20 super chat. Everybody type JD down in the chat.
Let's go.
That goes toward the Vegas fund. Any super chats that come in goes toward the Vegas fund. Going to Vegas tonight.
Also, shout out to Tykerius. Luther Burden is so tough. He's a receiver out of Missouri. He might be the best pure receiver in the draft.
Okay, yeah, I forgot to mention him.
He might be an absolute stud. Could be first receiver taken.
Wow. All right. Luther Burden. Looking forward to watching him. Yeah, I didn't know that he was like number one, but
he was electric last year in Mizzou's like really air raid, high speed, high tempo offense.
Nick Dolfer, what's good, brother? I see Joji, Gina G, Robert James in the chat. Robert James, thanks for the email. Coop, Robert James reached out to me and he said, I know you've been talking about the San Francisco shirts.
Yes.
You should get Bang Bang Niner Gang on the back.
Ooh, I like that.
San Francisco Bang Bang Niner
Gang. I'm in on that.
That's front side and back side.
I need one. Whoa.
Pause. Joseph, thank you. All right, let's do this. 2-minute super chat shot clock. If you want to send in a super chat, you can do that within 2 minutes. All super chats go toward the Vegas fund. If not, we'll sign off, and we'll see you live again next week.
Let's go.
A Jizzle said, still here. You're a real one. Julie, how do you pronounce your last name, Julie, after sending in that 20? DiCiano? DiCiano. Oh,
that's my guess.
That's a capitalized C. So DiCiano. DiCiano. Julie DiCiano. I love it. I love it. There you go.
You got it right.
Julie said
Let's
yes.
go.
So good show today. 3 segments. Talked a little Trent Williams as well. Konnichiwa from Joji.
Shout out.
Konnichiwa. Aiyuk the number 1 now. He's been the number 1 the last 2 years, man. Been the number 1 the last 2 years. Nick Dofer! A $24 super chat.
Why 24?
Here's to the Niners finally signing Brandon Aiyuk the way they should have. Niner for life. I love it. N4L. Niner for life. And I put this out on my X page, at Chase_Senior, but Aiyuk with a red feather pen, making the contract official today, sat down in the chair, did a couple of swirls, and he's like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. He never wanted to go anywhere. Never wanted to go anywhere.
What do you make of the whole thing that he basically just took the offer that the Niners offered him a month ago?
So, per Aiyuk's agent, who quote tweeted Schefter like he quote tweeted me, he pretty much said fake news. That's not the case.
Interesting.
And Marco Martinez, shout out to Marco Martinez. He broke the Aiyuk news yesterday before any of the bigwig reporters across the NFL. He said, Niner fans, relax. Get ready to have a great weekend. Brandon Aiyuk is going to sign with the San Francisco 49ers. And he's been on top of a lot of Niner developments and Niner stories. So shout out to Marco Martinez.
Shout out Marco.
Who also said Schefter's report was not right. And there were differences in the guaranteed money and when Aiyuk was going to get that guaranteed money. Of note, Jeremy Fowler had reported last night that Aiyuk is going to get $47 million before April 1st of 2025. So I imagine that was one of the sticking points. And when I was talking about the nuances of the contract, that's kind of what I was referring to back over the last couple of weeks. Anchorage, Alaska.
Let's go.
From James Knudsen. That's awesome. All right, our 2-minute super chat shot clock has expired, so we are going to step away. Thanks to everybody for tuning in today. Yesterday to our live Brandon Aiyuk coverage. Going to Vegas tonight. Back in the studio on Tuesday, but still plenty of content to come over the next several days, so be on the lookout for that. For the faithful, for Coop, I'm Chase. We out. Have a great weekend. Brandon Aiyuk is a Niner. Yeehaw!